This video discusses how to prepare the graph for the heat of reaction experiment for College Chemistry 1 at Madison College. I have a sample data set here in Microsoft Excel, and you'll want to type in your data in this similar format. My X variable is milliliters of acid added for each trial that you did. In the B column is my Y variable, and here I'm looking at the change in temperature in degrees Celsius. You'll have to subtract your initial temperature from the final temperature that you reached for each trial that you did. I also added some 0 points in my data set. I added a 0 point when I was looking at 0 milliliters of acid, in which case I had 10 milliliters of base, and I saw 0 change in temperature since no reaction can occur if I have no acid. And I also added a 0 at the bottom, in which case I was talking about a trial in which I had 10 milliliters of acid and no base, and again I'm going to have no reaction and no heat release, so I should see no change in temperature. To make this graph, you need 2 lines, and your 2 lines are going to be separate series on the graph. To begin, what I want you to notice with your data set is you want to notice the maximum change in temperature. And what I can see from my data is that the maximum change in temperature that I observed was 4.9 degrees Celsius. And this happened when I had 5 milliliters of acid. I'm going to call this point my delta T max when I saw the greatest change in temperature. To make my graph, I want one line to represent the points with the positive slope, where there's an increase in the change in temperature. I'm going to select all of my data up until I hit that delta T max. And I'm going to insert my graph. So I'm going to go over here to insert, and I'm going to press this icon here, and I'm going to get those points. And you can see this is going up until I hit that maximum change in temperature. Here I'll start to label my axes for my graph. So I'm going to go over to this add chart element, and I'm going to add a horizontal and vertical axis labels. My horizontal axis here is looking at the milliliters of acid that I added for each trial. My vertical axis here is looking at that change in temperature. And this is in degrees Celsius, and if you just want to do a capital C here, that's fine with me. I know it's difficult to make that degree symbol in Microsoft Excel. And then for the chart title here, I'm going to give it the experiment title, the heat of reaction. For this graph, so far I've only plotted half of my data points. I still need those data points with the negative slope, but I want to add a separate series for those. So I'm going to click on my data points so they're all selected. I'm going to go up to the top here where I have this icon where it says select data, and it's under design and chart tools. I want to add a series, so I'm going to click add here, and this is going to default name for series 2. But I'm going to select my data here. So I'm going to select starting at 5 and going down. So I'm starting at delta T max and moving to 10. I'm going to delete what's in that Y menu here, and I'm going to select at delta T max going down my Y points, and then I'm going to click OK. Here you'll see that you'll have 2 series, series 1 and series 2. I'm going to click OK to exit out of this window here. And now you can see I've got 2 sets of data points on my graph. In blue, I have the data points with the positive slope. And in red, I've got the data points as a separate series, those data points after I reach delta T max going down to 10 milliliters. The reason why I need 2 separate series here is that I want 2 lines of best fit. So I'm going to click on my blue series here with the positive slope, and I'm going to add that line of best fit. And I need an equation of my line, so I'm going to go to more trendline options. I'm scrolling down to the bottom here, Because I have that 0, 0 point, I'm going to set my intercept to 0 for this line. I'm going to display the equation on the chart and the r² value, and this is for that blue line with the positive slope. Next, I'm going to click on my red data points. These are my data points with the negative slope when it starts to go down, the change in temperature. I'm going to add a trend line for those. So again, I'm going to go to a linear trend line, and I want more trend line options so I can display the equation. In this case, it really doesn't make sense to add a 0, 0 point or to set the intercept to 0. Because at 10 milliliters of acid, when I have no base, I say that the change in temperature is 0. You do want to click on the display equation and the r² value, and here is my line of best fit for those points, the red points with the negative slope. This is what your graph needs to look like for the heat of reaction. You'll use the equation of the two lines of best fit, and you can solve for the intersection of those lines to find your value for delta T max. This is what your graph is going to look like for the heat of reaction experiment for College Chemistry 1, and I hope this video helps you.